Hello, hello, hello. So, as everybody who plays Stellaris will know, ground combat or planetary invasions are potentially a little bit underwhelming from the expectation to what actually happens in reality. But that doesn't mean that we can't do a top five. So, today we're going to do a top five ground troops. Let's get into it. So, straight off the bat, coming in at number five, a huge fan favorite are the Xenomorph Army. So, as the description reads, these ravenous hordes of bioengineered horrors made up of little more than teeth, claws, and an instinctive urge to kill. A cadre of scientists monitor and supervise the raging swarms as best they can from hardened bunkers behind the front. So the Xenomorph army is obviously a nod to the Alien films and the Xenomorph that came out of that. Some people, maybe if you're of the younger generation, you won't necessarily know about those films. Maybe you'll attribute them to the Tyranids from the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Nevertheless, these guys are pretty awesome. They may be slightly a little bit weaker than intended, particularly if you compare them to the Alien film. I think the aliens in the film are a little bit stronger than these guys are, relatively speaking. That may be because of what's happened. I mean, these guys were added quite early into the game, and we've had many DLCs and many updates since then. And it's maybe, although they're still strong, they're maybe not as strong. They're not S tier like they potentially used to be. So stats wise, these guys will cost you 200 minerals each, take 2 energy per month for upkeep, and take 100 days to build. They will do between 3 and 6 damage overall, and have a whopping 500% bonus to collateral damage, which I believe is the highest in the game. These guys take no prisoners. If you drop them on a planet, they're going to eat everybody and they're going to wreck all the buildings in the process. If you want to unlock these guys, you're first going to need to complete the epigenetic triggers and then hope for the rare reroll morphogenetic field mastery. Once you've done that, you will be able to build your own Xenomorph army. Okay, so on to number 4, another potential fan favorite, the Gene Warrior army. So, as again, anyone who plays or knows anything about the Warhammer 40k universe, these guys are Space Marines. Recruits are typically chosen from the elite of the conventional military forces. These then undergo extensive gene therapy and are made larger, stronger, and faster than their former peers. Hashtag Space Marine. They are 100% Space Marines. So the Space Marines, for those who don't know, are pretty much the most badass soldiers from the monster of the universe that is Warhammer 40k. These guys are acquired from the genetic ascendancy tree, and therefore may take a while to unlock, but they are totally worth it once you get there. So these guys cost 300 minerals to build and cost 3 energy per month for upkeep, and they take a big whopping 150 days to build per army. 500 health points and do 3 to 6 damage, and yeah, enjoy dropping your Space Marines on enemy planets. Okay, so in third place, I give the bronze medal to the Imperial Legion. So these guys are effectively the stormtroopers from Star Wars, right? You know, based on the films, you'd think they're pretty rubbish. In the game, they're pretty freaking good. So you'll see me recording on the founding of the Legions event. So essentially, you have to become the Galactic Emperor to get these guys, and then you have to push something through the Senate, which allows you to recruit them. So the first Imperial Legions are now being assembled in the Imperial Corps. This elite ground force has the legal authority, that's quite lovely, isn't it, to conscript citizens from all members of the Imperium. Wow, that sounds very diplomatic. Sorry, that sounds very democratic. Many military academies are already being scouted for promising candidates, and there are reports that civilians, even children, are drafted if found to be unusually capable. Well, doesn't that just sound lovely? Nevertheless, these guys are pretty awesome. So as seen here, they are now recruitable. They are not cheap, and interestingly, you can only build 12 of them. So these soldiers will cost a whopping 300 minerals apiece and cost 3 energy for upkeep, and will take 150 days to train up. They have 600 health and do a solid 3.75 to 7.5 damage. And as mentioned, you can only build 12. So these guys are stronger than the Gene Warriors. Maybe that's why you're only limited to 12. I'm not quite sure why they thought you should throw the limit in there. Maybe the devs think these guys are too strong. The description reads, the elite soldiers of the Galactic Imperium, recruited from all member nations, drilled and conditioned into ruthless killing machines, they are fanatically loyal to the Imperium. I've always thought that's quite an interesting one. I feel like the Galactic Emperor and the civilization that he belongs to, i.e. the race that he belongs to, would probably be the same race that these troops are, but maybe not in our space worlds. Moving on. Okay, so we're now all the way at number 2, the Cyberx Warforms. Now, these guys are freaking awesome. I love the idea of Cyberx Warforms. I love the idea of the Cyberx as a precursor race. I think they're freaking awesome. So when I think Cyberx Warform, I think the mechs from Pacific Rim, but maybe without the pilots necessarily. Maybe with the pilots. I mean, it depends. It depends on your preference and the sort of law that you want to follow. As the description reads, this titanic robot towers over most buildings with enough firepower to devastate cities. So I'm thinking Pacific Rim. I mean, I guess you could think the Titans out of the Warhammer 40k universe. Maybe you want to go a little bit smaller. Maybe you're thinking that big robot from the I think it was the third Terminator film. Maybe it's the fourth Terminator film. The one with Christian Bale. The one that scoops everyone up and puts them in cages. Anyway, I digress. So these guys are freaking awesome, as mentioned, and they love stamping on aliens. They are absolute monsters in terms of stats. These guys cost 250 alloys, not minerals like the other ones that we've been looking at, and take 8 energy to upkeep, and they take a whopping 500 days to build, which I guess kind of makes sense. If you have to build a giant robot, it's going to take a while. They do 7.5 to 15 damage and have a huge 1400 hit points, significantly more than everything else we've looked at so far. If you want to unlock these boys, then you're going to sadly need a little bit of luck, and you have to roll the Cyberx as precursors. So there are a bunch of different precursors you can get. Cyberx is one of them. The decision's made at the start of the game. Sadly, you have no choice over it. Once you've completed the quest line or the event line, depending on how you want to talk about it, you will be rewarded with the Cyberx Warforge, and this will allow you to build Warforms at your home capital. And then you can build lots of robots and go and stamp on all the aliens. Enjoy. So in at number 1, in my opinion, the strongest army that you can get in Stellaris is the Nanite Warform. Now this is super awkward to get and a giant pain in the ass, but it's really, really strong. So that's why we're going to talk about it. So it's kind of similar to the Cyberx Warform that we discussed previously, but it's made out of nanites rather than like a giant robot, I guess. And, you know, nanites are pretty cool. Like, I'm thinking Iron Man suit, but massive. You know, the one where he fights Thanos, that kind of thing. Like a giant version. So this guy is really, really, really strong. So it comes in at a whopping 15 to 30 damage base. What you can see on the screen has some buffs to it. So the base is 15 to 30 damage. It has an insane 3,600 hit points. For context, that's the equivalent of 13 regular assault forces, the regular assault armies that you can get. And it also has the added bonus of the 500% collateral damage. So it's taking 0 prisoners and destroying everything, which is what you want, really. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It comes with 0 upkeep and has 0 cost you because you get it through an event. So sadly, you cannot build them willy-nilly. You will only be able to acquire 1, and you have to tell it what you want it to be. It can be a governor, it can be a ship, or it can be a warform. And the event is the Quiet Stroll event, which is part of the Distant Star events pack and is to do with the L cluster. So you won't always encounter it, but if you do, complete it and then select the Warform option, and you will be left with this absolute monster. And it's also the only army that I'm aware of that you can open up your context menu and have a little chat with. So fire in the hole, because he's a Warform apparently. So yeah, if you get it, you only get one. Use it wisely. Okie dokie, so I know we finished the top 5 and the Nanite Warform definitely deserves to be there, but this is some cheeky bonus content for you. The Skeletal Giant. So this guy should definitely get a mention, even though it's not the strongest out there at all. It is pretty freaking cool. So in order to get this guy, you need to have the Reanimator perk and get lucky with some events. So fortunately, with the magic of console commands, I have been able to spawn the event. So the Gigantic Skeleton, which is, I think it's a relatively common event. It's difficult to tell when you played the game for so long, but I'm pretty sure it's quite common. I remember seeing it quite a lot. So if you have the Reanimator Civic, you can hit this button. So instead of Fascinating, which is what you normally get, can we make it move again? Hell yeah, we can make it move again. So you click this sucker, finish the chain, and then at the end of the day, you're going to get a Skeletal Giant to wage war on the Xenos scum. Well, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see my take on the top 5 megastructures, please click the video on screen now. Catch you in the next one.